for what is a breakdown of. We'll briefly discuss the storm this week, um, and then we're going to break down what's going on here this weekend. I think there's a lot to discuss, especially for late this weekend into, um, that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday time frame, especially for a lot of maybe the East Coast in terms of a storm potential. Um, in terms of what might happen here, and I think the potential is very intriguing. Model guidance continues to be all over the place, and I'm going to do my best to kind of work through the muddiness of that for you guys, and do everything I can to try to pinpoint what I think may happen, even though realistically that's going to be very difficult to do at this time. But without further ado, we'll wait for people to filter in here. I'll share the stream on X here as well, and then we can kind of get going here and break down what's happening. So okay. Alrighty, we'll just wait. Let's see. Let me open up the chat here. Michael Phillips, how we doing? Kevin, glad to have you in here. I will say I may be getting sick, so we'll see how my voice does. That was really, really, really random, to be honest. Just like randomly, like no signs whatsoever. So we'll kind of see here. Let's see. Let me put the link in Discord too as well. There we go. We do have a Discord as well for those that don't know. And I can link that in the chat as well if you are curious. I'm not an expert though at doing this. Again, we'll get going here in a second. We're just waiting for people to filter in here. How the heck do I share? You know what? Can somebody from our I think somebody from our Discord share the link potentially to the Discord? I am no bueno at this. So hopefully, if there's somebody in the chat, if there's Celtic Supreme, how are we doing? If somebody in the chat that is also in the Discord doesn't mind putting the link to our Discord in there for those that would like to join, you just get me just slightly more off the cuff. Really not. People know it's the same. It's pretty much the same thoughts. Oh, to embed links. Okay. Okay. We'll do that. Pats, and hopefully we can get some dangs. No, yeah, it's possible. It's possible here upcoming. So we'll kind of let's kind of see what we got going on here. Let's see what we got going on here. I think I think it's intriguing what we have going on here. So I do have a Discord. I just really haven't used it much until the past week or so, I guess. Well, I did use it for a while. So I shouldn't say that, but okay. So yet, Hidden Mega, who is also a YouTuber, does a lot of Roblox stuff, I believe. Put the link in there. So let's get going. Let's get going. We got enough people in here. We don't need to wait any longer. We all we got. We all we need. It's the Patriots logo there. So let's go to. I feel like people got PTSD when I open up this model. We can kind of see what the euros. What's the rock cooking here? Okay. So here's what I've noticed with this system first here. So guys, the reason we talked about it with this system, as I'll get my pen tool open too, we talked about it. We just didn't think this was going to have major snowstorm potential. The first one, and I'm sorry, let you down. And again, maybe the wording and some I appreciate it, Celtic Supreme. Maybe some of the wording, wasn't as clear as I could have made it. To me, at all times, I tried to make it clear. The best margin for error with the system was always interior northeast for accumulating snowfall along the front, than any snowstorm potential back in New England, especially Maine. We said had the highest margin for error. Now, I did think originally that southern New England would have a chance for some accumulating snow with this event, and still will technically, just not really to the extent I thought. And again, I wasn't necessarily thinking we get an all-out major snowstorm, but I did think there was some interesting potential here, and I still think, we could sneak a little bit out of this as we've again trended back the other way, just like I was kind of expecting, but we just maybe didn't do it quite enough in order to think. Again, we had some people forecasting this to not really do much at all. Others, kind of leaning into potentially to the snowstorm potential. I was kind of not in the middle, but kind of in terms of not doing a ton. How do I phrase this? I didn't think this was a major snowstorm. I didn't think we would get a big snowstorm for all of New England, but I did think that there was a potential for some snowstorm in New England, and there's going to be some probably in Maine. I'd say in northern New England, in Vermont, places like that. So, and I do have people that watch from up there that are curious. So, I had some questions about that. So that was something to keep in mind. I appreciate it, Michael. So that was something to keep in mind that, the system, although intriguing, it just there was too many things that had to go right, and we discussed that. And I tried to make that as clear. Listen, that some of those, especially the GFS, had me for a second questioning. It had me questioning myself, like, did I make this call too early? That maybe that, and I was like, I'm sure I was questioning some other forecasters too. But for me, I did not see this widespread major snowstorm potential. At most, I really saw realistically, most I saw maybe New England, as far as southern New England being able to. And even then, it doesn't seem like, yeah, the main show really doesn't come for a couple days still on guidance. So I think maybe there still could be a little bit of yeah, we could get some precip to kind of back into across New England, maybe a little bit here. We'll see. We can get a little bit. It's possible, but again, not anything too significant at this point, especially along the coast. And then keep an eye on the system as too on the backside. Along the front, it's going to get cold fast, guys. Really, I mean, we're going to be talking 40, 50-degree temperature swings potentially in some places along the eastern seaboard, and flip the snow on the backside. And some places, again, on the other side of that front, we'll probably switch to some snow after, regardless of where you live, there's the potential for that. And I'm telling you, keep an eye right in here. Keep an eye for some flakes to fly and some light coatings possible, especially in here. Especially places down south that don't usually see it. I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Let me go to Euro AI and show it, and then we'll discuss what's going on for this weekend here in a second. You can kind of see it. You see Euro AI, and you see it show it a little bit. Right, you can see there's a little bit of precip, and you can see there's a little bit too in a little bit in New England as well. You see that southern New England just a little bit. So keep an eye on that. There could be some accumulating snow, and then you see Maine, northern New England, interior northeast, really just in line, just due to the orientation of the upper level low. And we talked about them having the best floor to see at least accumulating snow with this system from the beginning. So I wouldn't call it my best forecasted system, just due to the fact I thought we would get a little bit more accumulating snow just a little bit further south. I did think that, but again, at least I can say, I can say, at least happily that we did not buy into some of those major snowstorm, and we tried to make that clear. Hopefully, um, but again, there's still some room for improvement. Um, kind of like a, we'll call it like a B minus kind of forecast. So we didn't really do unbelievable, but hey, it was tricky. Obviously, anybody trying to work through what was going on in guidance was tricky. So you can call it like a C plus B minus forecast, because for me, I always pride myself on doing as best as I can. But here's what we noticed. Let's go into this weekend now, guys. So now here's what I noticed with this firsthand. Look what we've been doing in guidance, and the reason you've seen models been, bring what was so offshore a couple days ago, at least flirt it a little bit, right? At least flirt it, and at least bring my ideas of what could happen a little bit closer to fruition. Actually, let me not grade a forecast that hasn't happened yet. Let's let this go. So cancel all my thoughts on that last bit of the forecast. Let's not do that until it actually happens. That's not something I should be doing. So I'm not happy with myself for that. But uh, hey, we can't be perfect. So what I noticed, what we've been doing, is I told you guys, models, told y'all guys and gals, that we were going to have some mischief. TPV lobe in this lobe here in southern vort and subtropical vort. It's 4 different pieces that we're trying to. Oh, thanks for joining, Kevin. Your Drake May lover. Remind me to put rolls on you guys that joined the Discord. Remind me to do that. Because I give roles to everybody where you're from. So you're either a Northeast snow lover, New England snow lover, a Southeast snow lover, Mid Atlantic. So I like doing that. So yeah, and I do put Jersey and PA into the Northeast. So sorry, I saw some somehow still, even though I don't look at the timeline, even into my lists, it worked its way into there on X. So yeah, just so you guys know, if any, I do, not that it matters to you. I really almost don't look at the timeline anymore, like basically at all. I just have my own little list here. So, Ike, how we doing? All right. Well, I'll look into that after. Hidden Mega. I'll look in that after. But for right now, we got this to track. So let's get into it. So, and that was the key I told you. And so that little, and take a look. So this system, yes, we've seen differences, but in models on, again, any upper level energy that's going to come in late and fast that wasn't ashore, look what's happening. So the changes on guidance we're seeing is happening just as the energy is getting closer to a shore. And that's not a bad thing right there. The changes we saw in guidance with this system kind of happened when the energy came closer to a shore. A little bit better sampling, and now we're seeing that. That's why so far out you got to be careful. Now, take a look. You see what we're doing with this system here? This is the current system that gave everybody headaches. Look what we're doing. Our northern lobe is digging more into our southern vort, and that's what's allowing potential for, just even if it's lighter, a little bit more precip down the east coast, potentially that would on the cold side of the system after the front moves through. At least giving that potential. Still floating it. Not necessarily for anything major, but at least floating it just a little bit. And that's been the trend again. So guidance kind of doing a little bit of a windshield wiper effect, but just not all the way potentially, or if not likely, with this setup. Because the northern lobe, the reason why what guidance was doing, if you're curious, guys, was it dropped this northern lobe here so far south that allowed the southern vort to become way more dominant and allowed the flow to really back in and allowed that cold front to drop into the precip that was getting so far out in front. And what we did was, instead of, mistiming 2 different systems is what it feels like, we combined these 2 basically together to create more so one system, if not, 1A, 1B kind of system versus almost a full two-part system is what we're going to probably see now. And what this does is, and along with the TPV, it sucked in the TPV as well. Instead of the TPV being north, now these two almost kind of want to amplify together and force all this amazing moisture that we pulled into the Gulf. All this dig gets wasted because this moisture gets sent all the way up here. And that's not productive. And we talked about that as a concern. Talked about that as a concern with this system. I just didn't think we would do it to as much as this extent. Again, not that I was thinking we were going to go in a big snowstorm, or necessarily like that for big widespread snowstorm, but it was we were not able to consolidate quite enough to be able to convert on this. And so when you combine all these things that happen, you basically did everything that could have gone wrong on guidance to C went wrong, basically. And not that it wasn't possible, we highlighted it. I just, we were maybe thinking, oh, well, maybe one of these can kind of go wrong, and maybe there's still something. And, now it's, I don't want to say what I was going to say. It's a little off color. You had something that you thought was going to happen that did not happen, in that, you can maybe put two and two together if your mind's quick enough. But so that happens. And we don't get snow. We don't get a big snowstorm out of this. That's just the reality. Unfortunately, just the reality. But had we have dropped the southern board, like if we were, give us a couple more days to keep doing this, and maybe we could have done it on guidance, but that's not how it works. And that's why we don't forecast just off guidance. So considering all the guidance, again, I'm not too unhappy with how the forecast went. And again, we said we're focusing on this weekend. How does that tie into what's happening this weekend? That's an important part where I'm just discussing. Because now, let's look at the difference again. You see what's happening? Kind of backing this up. We're backing this up, and this gets forced to back up too. Now, this being stronger and more amplified of a system and further back west, it forces this system, to back up. It can't come in too soon. Now, partially could be how the energy is being sampled ashore. Maybe this was coming on sooner, but take a look. And you also, you guys, what else you see here? Atlantic ridging increase. And we talk about this every freaking time. How models just tend to underestimate this. So I still question what kind of blocking mechanism can really happen for this next system, and we'll talk about that. But this is a very helpful change, because what guidance was doing is connecting this so much to the end so fast, and it really isn't necessarily all that realistic to see that, to be honest. And so what we're doing now is we're separating these two. You see how the separation we get now on guidance? You see the separation? You see how this was kind of connected to the edge, the tail end of this system? It's not happening anymore because this is freaking connected. This is more connected. It's well pieced and put together. You're seeing the TPV and the backside kind of connect too on guidance. And again, this is what's bringing my thoughts to life more on what I think was going to happen. This is what was bringing my thoughts to life. What you're saying is the first storm is backing that what up, and the second storm has no choice but to respect and stare. Not fully, but it's playing a part, essentially, Celtic Supreme. So yes, kind of, but not fully. It's playing a part. What we're doing, though, more importantly, is you take a look, because you see, in theory, you would think, oh, well, this is the edge of the system, but not quite. Now what's going to happen is we pull in. Remember another key of this pattern, guys, that we discussed here. Again, this pattern is going to have variations. So when I said this pattern has the potential to be the best in a while, it's because of the duration and the potential and how long. Guys, we're just getting started here with this pattern, by the way. So if you don't convert completely here, don't be opportunities. Just to be clear, if your specific location does not get as much snow as you were hoping for. So keep that in mind. I'm telling you, I'm almost certain there's gonna be more. I'm almost certain. I don't rarely often say that, but I don't think it's gonna be a dry end of January and February. You can kind of get a little bit of sense here, way out in the distance too. You can kind of see that. But my point being here is, look at the dig you got, and you've increased the dig on all of the model guidance today. Again, we're going to break down what the changes in guidance are, and then eventually we'll relay this all back to my thoughts that have been, you guys know, I've been adamant on this one. Gotcha. Yeah. Celtic Supreme. Yeah. You guys know I've been adamant on this one having a better chance of producing. You guys know that. I've been saying this for like almost, I don't think a week, but at least like 4 or 5 days now. I mean, we've been talking about this system here, the potential produce. And you take a look at the dig. The more you dig the system, dropping the trough, the base of the trough going further southwest. And you see this tail end, this subtropical energy here, just above my apps, just above the ticker on the screen. You see that? This gives an opportunity for more of this energy to come around now. And now we can start amplifying an upper level low towards the base of the trough. And there's less variables here. There's not a northern lobe, TPV, etc. There's not that with this system. We don't have that. First system, very messy. Lots of variables needed to happen. This is clear cut. For at least even just a snow event to snowstorm, for a snow event to snowstorm, just that, just an accumulating snow event to at least a minor snow, just to even to get that, this is all you have to do. Get some Atlantic ridging, get enough southern energy to get out ahead, back this up just enough, get enough southern energy out ahead, and boom, now you're going to get precip that's going to form, and you got a system that rides up the coast. Even if it's not a ton of precip, you're getting something. You're getting something. You're at least getting, you're at least getting a snow event to maybe mini snowstorm at a minimum. That's what you're doing if you just do that. Now, if you're really able to dig this enough and give it and really pull in a good amount of southern energy, a subtropical jet here. Take a look at the 250. We'll go to 200. It's good enough. We'll go to 300. We want 200. And you see this here, this here. You see this right here in the part of the jet. The more this can get brought in, the better, and you'll see it here. This will show it so much clearer, the changes we've been doing on guidance today. At least I think. No, that part won't. I got to extend it a little bit. Right there. You see that? You see how the jet backs up now? Your upper level jet stream. This is what helps create lift right here. Your upper level jet stream. You see how the jet's becoming more coupled together? It's becoming more well put together. And more of this is being wasted. The moisture that happens down here in the closer to the tropics, into the Gulf, subtropics here. More of this can get tapped into our upper level jet, and you see our jet stronger, amplified, or pulled back a little bit further west too. That's what you get to do. And take a look at that. Now, now you're talking. Now you're getting closer to something aligned. Because take a look, this is not what was being showed. See that? And you can clearly see it. The more these two come together, you see, the more you'll see the backup of the precip shield. The more you see this jet here, back up here more, the more you're going to see that precip shield fill back in more, and you'll see heavier precip get back going. And this has been an all-day thing. all day on guidance. I'm very curious to see what the AI ensemble looks like too, because it's been showing the threat. It's just been a big spread. That's it. It's been showing the threat, but you can see these two come together. Now, I don't love that we don't have a clear block up here or a clear confluence, which means you have to time up some things a little bit. You got to time up some things a little bit. And so that's why I say not a full guarantee. Because you're going to have to rely on some energy consolidation here that's not guaranteed. You need to time up some pieces here. Okay? You're not slowing down the jet stream enough to be like, this, no matter what, this is going to have time to come together, these pieces. That's not the case. There's a fail mode with this. Like we've seen, if, let's say, current system becomes more attached, if these two continue to become more attached, again, like we saw in guidance yesterday, or earlier today, whatever you want to say, freaking whatever, then you're going to make it a little bit difficult, potentially, to allow enough energy consolidation. It's not it's not a full domino effect. You don't necessarily need to rely on this specifics anymore, but like I was saying to Celtics Supreme earlier, it does play a part, absolutely, into this. So if you don't do that, then you're going to freaking not be able to get good snowstorm. And that's just the reality with the system. So that, again, if you don't have a major block here, like you see, or if you don't have the right conf now, but here's the thing, at least a little bit here, this can at least work, the TPV lobe here, at least initially, can work maybe a little bit initially as a confluence to at least give time, especially if this is separated, at least give a little bit of more time for these to come together. Another thing, if Atlantic ridging, like we always, it's just so poorly sampled, guys, it really struggles to do that. Atlantic ridging being underestimated it tends to usually help a little bit. Meaning stronger high pressure here forces a storm track in a baroclinic zone, a thermal gradient, temperatures closer together, that helps create stronger precip shield further back west. That can allow more precip back along the coast. And again, this is a system, guys. Remember, look how much we're digging with this trough. The fact you have to start your upper level lobe to form off of here, this means, yes, dare I say, southern places, we could have an East Coast snowstorm. Now, this doesn't mean like a true East Coast snowstorm I'm talking about here. And again, but this doesn't mean necessarily that this is some massive 1993 storm. That's not what I'm saying. An East Coast snowstorm does not mean every single time that there's going to be 1 to 2 feet. That's not what I'm saying. Justin, we've been talking about this right now. You're late, buddy. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, we've been talking about this. This is what we're talking about right now. We're talking about we're at Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is what we're talking about. And another thing to do, guys, to remember is since you have this upper level energy here, you could get some overrunning precip to start Saturday, early Sunday out ahead of the main event. So that's something to keep an eye on here, just because of how deep you're digging the trough. So you could get a little a pregame right here. But anybody that went to college knows that the pregame is not the main show of the night. Always, no, I'm just playing fun with you. Don't worry. But anybody, yeah, as what I was saying, anybody who went to college knows the pregame is not the main show of the night always. There tends to be a little bit more that goes on after, and that's the case here. Don't mind me if you hear me sipping my airborne. But you can see upper level low starts to pop here. And I got to give credit maybe to the icon because it's been showing this kind of all day. And you can see the difference. This is a little bit more extreme, but this highlights in the icon just don't look at the specifics. Just look at the general idea. Icon is showing a full-on, like, I don't want to say massive, but a pretty big snowstorm. What this would be, and people will look at the surface maps and get caught on that. But look how much you're digging at that point, and especially initially. And again, I hate the icon, but it's just showing it. And then maybe it was, if it's first to show it, then I can't say it's I can't dismiss it if it's showing something ahead of the other guidance. But you see what it does. You see how much it digs. It's really able enough to pull in that southern energy. And now this works as like a crappy confluence where it works just enough initially to maybe allow this to slow down, and then there's nothing then to work its way to stop. Now, here's something I notice is this piece coming in here, that could potentially work at least a little bit maybe to slow down our system, but not. Let me go to, we have another guidance as well? No, not as much there. So that's more of an icon thing. You can see more guidance showing, but this would change. This would change. You can see how still much the euro may have to go to other guidance still. So maybe, look at this. So this is intriguing. If you do, so this is what makes me a little bit more interested here now. Take a look at our TPV lobe here. As you see this, little bit of a stretching of the polar vortex, very, very minor, not major. But again, plenty enough because we have the cross-polar flow here. Massive western ridge displaces this cold air in northwest Canada, and what's bringing down the cold air. So that's why it's going to be really cold this weekend and going forward potentially. It's going to be pretty cold because now we're displacing two areas of cold air, tapping into here and here. We have upper level energy coming from here and here. And it's now we're working to see in this pattern, how well can these two time together? At least the first part of the pattern here over the next week or so. And then that might change the specifics. The UCMET bloody, I have not looked. I just don't trust that model, but we can maybe look, we can look back at it. Again, the storm didn't shift. The models did. Let's make that clear. And I'm not pointing anything out at you. I know you may feel like, oh man, he's getting on me tonight. No, I promise, I'm not. I'm just the storm did not shift, guys. Models shifted. Let's make that clear always. Oh, and also hit the like if you don't mind. Reminder: super chats and channel memberships are also available if you want to show extra support or if you want slightly more access. It's not so much more insane. I won't be there, but I will. You'll get better. I'll never miss your chat questions, I promise, and you'll get better answers likely from me as well if you are a channel member more in depth. Do my best to show a little bit more attention for those that decide to show that level of support. But remember, the guys, that guidance does not dictate what's going to happen. Guidance is a tool. Models are tools, and it's people's jobs like mine to pinpoint what's going to happen. It's very difficult, but I try my best to look through, use it as a tool, use past research, past history, past stuff that rely on what has happened, what the atmosphere tells us, what the science tends to tell us in these kind of setups. And then we can try to use that combined with what guidance is showing as a tool to piece together. And we'll kind of get to my thoughts that really still remain unchanged at this point. It's just now we have guidance giving my thoughts a little bit of life now. That's pretty much it. And so here's what I'm curious about, bringing this back. If we slow down the system and dig it enough, if this TPV lobe is a little bit further, if these lobes here are a little bit further southeast, very, very intriguing. The potential, hey, bloody. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for the super chat. Everyone put a W bloody in the chat. Spell his name right too, if you don't mind. Even though it's harder. But give bloody some W's. Very much appreciated, bloody. So thank you. I think I'm saying it right. I'm pretty sure. But with the system here, this becomes very intriguing. If we are able to get some of these part of the TPV lobe to get over. This works as an initial confluence that won't have much effect on the precip as it comes up the coast. No, thank you. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it very much. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Put W bloody in the chat. And so if this comes up the coast here, and we slow down, we keep digging this system, you're going to pull up more moisture from the southern stream, and you're going to allow this amplification to occur just because you're creating a baroclinic zone that creates lift and amplification, creates instability in the atmosphere. It's what helps create, bigger snowstorms. It's what helps create snowstorms in general. Some of the meteorological basics there. If you do that enough and you're able to just get this even a little bit, just to maybe try to slow down the flow just a little bit here, that could help. Now, what we wouldn't want is this to overdo it so much and suppress the system. But maybe if we can up here, let's see. If this is a little bit further to the east, that wouldn't be a bad thing, because if we slow down the system, just enough, that's when you start talking about the potential for something more significant. Like we can throw in the M word, the mage. Yeah, I don't want to say it, but that's when we can throw that in. But for now, definitely cannot be something to be explicitly forecasted. Again, in terms of this system, and I want to break down more guidance and what's happening here with some of these shifts to help give my thoughts some more life. I'm going to continue to lean on there's going to be a snow event to snowstorm this weekend. Okay, that's what I'm going to lean on. A notable snow event to snowstorm that happens up the East Coast this weekend. That's what I'm going to lean towards. And I'm holding firm on that, guys. I'm holding firm on that. You can kind of see the snow map here. Not the snow map, but the preset map. Look at that. No. Almost thought I could get you guys for a second. But what you do see here, actually, I don't want to go that far. Water, country, some fun. Intrusive thoughts. And you can kind of see that. You see this, guys, here on the AIFS, that initial kind of overrunning out ahead. So that's possible. You could get a burst Saturday, early Sunday, maybe, of snow out ahead, and whatever the system initially is. And I guess we could count that for our system too. But it may not be that much widespread. It may not be that spread out here. We keep doing what I think we're going to do. And you can see here on the preset map on this model, and this is not even, look at the time frame. Let's remove everything else that has happened in all previous winters and everything. Let's just go back to basics. You have a system here 114 hours out on this run. I mean, how could you not at least be intrigued? Right? Let's just look at that for basics. How could you at least not be intrigued about that? And knowing what we know, though, there is the potential for this, to do a decent amount here in terms of producing accumulating snow. And again, the more we dig this system, give more of this subtropical jet feed into the system here. And this, we're going to see tropical storm form in January in the Pacific. And that will go into some pattern thoughts I'll have at the end. So if I forget, remind me to do so. This will lead me to some pattern thoughts after. So I don't think January is going to be quiet. Remember a Bering Strait? Remember that out in the Bering Sea? We talked about that teleconnection. I think that was, so I think January 21st to 27th, I think was in that time frame. And you're kind of seeing some long-range crazy runs right now. So that's something to keep an eye on potentially at some point. I think that was around the time frame when I mentioned that. It's usually about 15 to 21 days after. Appreciate it, Hidden Mega. Appreciate you throwing that in there. Hidden Mega is not a bot, by the way, so he's allowed to link. So keep in mind, though, it's not a forecast set in stone here. But This separation between the two systems now that you see on guidance really helps. And this is, you can see it clear as day. You see this? Look right here. I think this is part of the key. And so people wanting to exactly define this system without realizing the impact that has on the next system are just a little bit of ignorance, a little bit. And I don't mean that in a super negative way. I don't. It's just not seeing the full picture though necessarily. And this plays a part. This plays a part. You see how these two were connected? Now they're not as much. And that's why you see what you see on guidance. So let's take a look at some of the changes on some of the other guidance as well. You saw the GFS. The GFS, I'm still going to use it. I just know, yeah, you guys know I've never really weighed this model like super highly for a reason. At least not anymore. And the GFS kind of pinpoints that too. You see how much you're digging your trough as well. GFS really digs the trough. Really digs the trough. In the GFS, you'll see the changes. I mean, that's as clear as day. I mean, come on. Take a look here too. Completely having no idea what's happening up here with the TPV low, by the way. Has no idea what's going on. And so if you get this to continue, I'm telling you guys, you're going to get well, this is a slowing mechanism that would work in our favor. How much snow in New Jersey get? 9.8. No, I don't know. I don't know. Just poking fun, but maybe it does. I don't know. But my point is, with this, is that this having no idea what's happening is why you're going to just keep seeing models have no idea, beyond a few days. Really, it's just going to be the case. And we got to look at that. And as you can see, close but no cigar on that. And even then, I think that would produce, in my opinion, that would produce along southeastern New England there and along the extreme East Coast. You can kind of see it on the P-type map. It kind of does, not really. A little bit of convective feedback issues maybe, but really goes into the deep south there. I'm sure our boy Mitch West will go crazy about that. I'm sure Gerald will be excited too. So I already hit up Gerald that, hey, we may need to do some more collabs later this week. So keep an eye on the lookout for that. So I love going on those streams too, because, and it's not, he helps, he puts my, many of you are here because of him, so I'm grateful for that as well, because he is willing to, promote my stuff a little bit. And really, I just enjoy collaborating, talking, I enjoy doing the stuff. And so I don't care if it's my channel or his, just breaking the stuff down. I really enjoy it. So, but it really helps that we can get more people that maybe are interested in the content I do as well to come on over. So, I mean, I never imagined be 1 at 1 a.m. and we'd have, 20 plus people in here at the same time from all across the eastern seaboard. So that's kind of cool. So you kind of see the changes there, and you see them on the ensembles as well. You'll really see it on the ensemble. And so that's why I hate the Jeff's ensemble a little bit, is because it's just so aligned with the operational. You see that? See our Atlantic ridging increasing? See this pushing west, digging and backing up. So what you want to see on guidance? You do the opposite, and this is not going to go so well this weekend. Just a reality. It won't go so well. Thank you, Mega. Will the Yuki be out on this? If it's not, I don't know if I have the balls to go to pull up Pivotal. It's not. UCMET is so variable though from run to run, or it's so volatile from run to run. Every single run, there's a new solution to it, like very much so. See Euro. It's intriguing for this week a little bit. See that upper level energy still moving through? I'm telling you, you could get some snow to break out across New England, and even down to the coast, or even down to some lower Northeast and Mid Atlantic places. Maybe some light snow to break out. Maybe even along North Carolina. You just have it. Look at the upper level jet. Yeah, I mean, you could get something. Look at that. Look how long the edge of that jet streak there is, and just not quite close enough to the left exit region, unfortunately. But man, you could get something. I'm telling you, sneaky, sneaky. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. I'm telling you. Wouldn't be anything major, but keep an eye. Kind of a cool mesoscale event it could be, though. And then here with the Euro, you see, now that dig is impressive. Really digging with the trough, but you're not really amplifying the upper level low. You're kind of, you see how you're a little too connected here. Give a little bit more stream separation. That's what I don't love on that Euro run there. But again, I'm just breaking down the run specifically. But let's take a look what's changed. It's like 4, 5 freaking straight runs right there, guys. You notice here, this is impeding less. This is separating more. You're digging everything back. You're allowing more energy to ride up. And you give yourself more snowstorm potential for the East Coast. You see that? Drop some southern snow. And drop some coastal snow too for some places. It's not anything major on that specific run. And it's not perfect either. But again, look at the time frame. 117 hours out. A lot of time for that model to move, especially considering that this model here is a little bit better. Even though the preset maps, I think it struggles with still. Take a look at another model, AI GFS. It's better than the GFS, I think, a little bit, but I don't trust it fully. Now look what you really do. You dig the thing, you back it up, compare that to Euro. Look at it. It's actually not so insanely different. You see that? The general idea. But you can see it's the dig. It's further back. This dig, this is pushed further back. You have a little bit more Atlantic ridge in here too, I think, as well. And this gives more time for it to get pulled up. But the dig on the Euro is really good, meaning the amplitude of the trough. It's digging so much. And so here's what you guys have to remember. Here's why I love troughs that dig. Will Charlotte, North Carolina see at least 1 inch of snow? I wouldn't bet on it, but there's a chance for Charlotte to see some snow this weekend. I think absolutely. There's at least a chance. I can't, but I could not guarantee you that you'll see at least 1 inch of snow. Sorry, but I'll do my best as we get closer. Keep asking me as we get closer here. There's a chance though. What was I gonna say? Matthew, you pulled me off my train of thought. Come on, Matthew, be better. No, I'm just, I'm just playing. But you dig enough, you press this far enough west, and you can see the trend here on this model as well. Take a look at what you did. And look what you do on the P-type map too. There you get the cigar. AI GFS, again, it's a little bit better than the GFS. It's not perfect. You get an East Coast snowstorm. All the way up the coast. You get snow, maybe even you get snow from Florida to Maine. Oh, here's what I was going to say. So that's what that is, again, just showing the guidance, showing what we've kind of done on guidance today. We've explained my thoughts. We're diving into guidance. Here's the reason I love when we dig in the trough, is because when we have access to Arctic air, which we do, we have cross-polar flow, and now this upper level energy, right? So you got to think about air masses, guys, right? You have different kinds of air masses. You have, warm air mass here, warm air mass here. Mid-latitudes are kind of a variable. They can pull into both, obviously. This is where your colder air comes from. We know that. Right here. This is where the colder air comes from, guys. This is not a secret. And you have it on the other side of the planet, too. And that comes around like this around the world. Show that. Brady 101 weather session right here, guys. Lock in. So, all right, it goes around the world, too. In East Asia, cold. That's going to work its way around here. See that? Watch. Play through. Boom. You see it? We're tapping right into that. There's your cross-polar flow. Right? So you're working around here. You're working over the ridge. And you're tapping into the polar vortexes here as well. So TPV lobes get sent down. Big western ridge here. And this cold air. Now you have this axis. And so there's, right? So this is your Arctic cold air sources right here. This has really displaced this cold air. I mean, there's probably some extreme weather temperatures going on here right now. And going forward. Maybe right now as well. Yeah, even right now. Very cold. You see the consistency? You're doing that. When East Asia is really cold and you get notable western ridging, it tends to work in our favor. Not always, but it can. And so, when you get this, never had snow for tomorrow, like GFS 2 feet. What do you mean, bloody? What do you mean? But here's why I like that. Because now, I'll zoom into North America again. And I went into Asia, apparently. Congrats. And so, when a trough can dig into... And this is also why 252 hours out, we don't look at guidance and care about that. But when you can dig a trough, because now look what you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, there's your cold air source that's now being displaced this far south. And when you get upper level energy to dig this far south, it brings cold air with it. And now we have cold air too. That's one thing we didn't have, and that's why I was a little skeptical about what we could do with this system here. I'm already calling it the last system, and it hasn't even happened yet. But what you're able to do here, guys, is now you can pull this up. Right? Now you can pull this up the coast, and you can pull this warm air to meet this cold air. And when you do that, you can create a tight baroclinic zone, meaning you create a tight thermal gradient, temperature gradient. Gradient meaning right here. That's a gradient. Then when the two come together tightly, that's a tight gradient. And so when you're able to do that, you're able to create dynamic weather in the atmosphere. And so this is why we love when systems can trough and dig, when troughs can dig like this. Because now we are tapping, look at this, 850 temperatures are below freezing in the freaking Gulf of Mexico. Or America, whatever you want to, I don't care. We call it whatever. It does not matter to me. Into the Gulf. You dig 850s below freezing. So that's why, yes, deep south places are going to have a chance for snow with this system. Deep south. Question will be where? The south forecasts are going to be really tricky. Really, really even more tricky. Because it's all about when exactly that southern energy can get going in front. When that happens, you'll get moisture out ahead of the cold air. And that's going to be really tricky to forecast across these places here. So I don't envy the forecast for these places here with this system. Because you got a chance for some snow with this. Accumulating snow maybe even too, not just flakes. Yet again, another winter, the deep south could cash in a little bit. It's possible. But look at the difference. What we did not have last winter at this time, actually, we did at this time for one system, but literally almost a year to date. And we're going to talk about it. You guys remember what I talked about before, January 19th, 20th? Son of a bee. look what we're doing it. January 19th, again. We have a chance to go, I think it would be 5 years in a row of a January 19th system happening. That'd be incredible. There's got to be something to that. Because then I would just tell you before the winter, January 19th, expect a snowstorm. Right, guys? I mean, that'd be so easy, but we can't do that. So, you create that baroclinic zone, and now the Atlantic ridging forces moisture to go up, forces the upper level energy to swing down and then up. And that's the key with the Atlantic ridging. Now, it's all about how much separation can we create with this system. That's not the system. How much separation can we create with this system? Here, how much can we back this guy up here to give more time for subtropical and southern moisture to get out ahead and allow upper level energy consolidation to happen sooner? Now, if you do this too much here, if you do this too much, this could immediately become a more interior threat. So I know it's offshore right now, but there is a chance. So I wouldn't favor that, but there is. I got to throw it out there as a small chance. And I know you coastal 95 people might have just puked in your mouth when I said that, but there's a small chance that that could happen. So just keep that in mind here, because there's not a lot from stopping this really in reality. And that's why I really like this system to produce here and track up the coast and not off, is because there's nothing to stop this, at least initially here. There's not a lot to stop. The only thing that's stopping this is upper level energy kind of being connected too much to this system here. That's really it. It kind of getting sheared out just a little bit. That's the only, I think that's really the biggest thing that could stop this system is energy consolidation. That's it. How does the energy consolidate? How early can it come together? How much can we get our trough to dig? And there's a bunch of pieces that play more of a part, but I think that's just worth bringing up and mentioning. Now let's go to the ensembles. AIGFS ensemble. Does it line up? Looks like it's within this. It's within the spread. I don't think it perfectly lines up, but it's pretty close to what it's showing. AIGFS ensemble, not super far off. Leaning on a little bit on the western side of that spread. That's basically it there. Let's go to AIFS ensemble. This I'm very intrigued about. Yes, exactly what you want to see. See the separation? Do it again. Right in here. Watch the separation happen. Boom. Boom. Right there. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Look at that. Look at that difference right there. You can see it even on the ensemble mean upper level energy swinging out in front. Look at the dig. Look at everything coming together a bit more. Atlantic ridging a little bit stronger. That's exactly what you want to see. Doesn't guarantee anything, but that's all you can ask for. Play it out. been fairly consistent on a bit of spread, but let's play the last run, actually. Let's boom. There you go. See the trough more well-defined, too? Stronger, a little bit deeper, a little bit more dig. Bingo, bango. That's what we want here. Let's hope models, all of them, keep that shift west. Well, you don't want to do it too much. Keep that in mind. But I mean, guys, this is a really classic winter storm pattern here. If we just look at it, 500 map, Alaskan high Canadian, Western Canadian ridge, deep Eastern U.S. troughing, and amplified Atlantic ridging. That's the classic pattern we draw up for potential here. So there is potential to get like a moderate to major storm. Like moderate is definitely within reason. Absolutely. In fact, it may be, it's within the forecast. Forecasting a snow event to moderate storm is kind of where I'm leaning. Within those three ranges right now, it's kind of where I'm leaning. But it's possible the farther north you go, where there's going to be a little bit more time, there's a chance the farther north you go, there could be more notable totals. If we are to go a little bit higher than any ceiling, this is where it would be. Because that's just more time for the system to get going. And now it's brought in all that warm air, and it's moving further north into even deep cold. It's colder up north. That's not a shocker always. It's bringing that warm air to the north. Call it the battle of the warm and the cold. Right, and then we'll see the changes here, I'm sure, as well. Hey now. Love it. I love the last run change. Take a look at what we do here. You see that? And I'm going to show you what. This here. You see the bump in the Atlantic ridge almost a little bit? This amplified, the height line's amplified higher, allowing this jet to kick back to the north. And it's probably all, this is an ensemble mean, but you see that? I love that. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's what you want to see. Take a look at the mean there. And you can see, compare that from run to run. You can see some of it, you can see that initial, it shows that there's that initial burst it kind of shows. And I'm sure that will be a little bit more consolidated. We bring this more together. And you can see it, basically the mean of it is scraping the coast, is what you can see. This is just the mean of all the precip. But you can see the spread. There's some members showing at this point, precip going all the way back there. So it's just a spread, you can see. It's just a spread. So this is not what you want to follow for specifics. But if you can compare, look at that difference. You see how notable of a difference that is? So 12Z kind of had a little bit more, it looks like. But even from 12Z, that's much closer. And 18Z kind of like just had more of a spread, it looks like. 18Z seems like just more spread. You can see more models going back further here and more going out further, more spread. And then a 0Z here, that was it. And this is a 0Z spread, an OZ 0Z spread. 100 to 120 hours out, guys. I mean, that's to be in that spot. You're trying to, you don't always necessarily want to be in the bullseye 4 to 5 days out. It's not always a good thing. We just saw that. It's not always a good thing. Just need a big 3 to 6 inch event snowstorm, South Charlotte, and I'll be happy. Fortunately, we're in a snow hole, and it hasn't snowed like that in years, or even a decade. Yeah, be patient. Keep your expectations low and hope for the best when you're in that situation. I can't blame you, but you do not live in a good spot because the the rising air tends to go to the mountains, and then you're just on the other side enough to the point that these coastal events are harder to get, and these more interior events are harder to get as well. So you kind of get caught in between. Charlotte's not really a good spot to live if you want to see snow. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm sorry. Either your parents did not bless you with that, or you're still torturing yourself by living there. So I apologize. Hey, but you had Cam Newton for a few years. You had something, but this is what we want to see. And we'll go to the panel members here. Hopefully they're playing out, and they're not because they suck. I don't know why they take so long to load out, but you'll kind of see here. So you can kind of see this is the current system showing it, and you can see that interior, right? Interior, New England, and Northeast. That's kind of the gameplay. And then, but you'll see now more of those models showing, spreading out a little bit the wealth, and it's got to be 26 through 50 showing it, then more, and it is. And you can see a good amount of members showing that, and some of it just offshore too. See this? I don't really love this at this range. This doesn't really show a ton, but we can. There it is, kind of. It's a little weird though. I guess it does highlight that the interior potential is there. If it does, if this does pull up, so you know, we'll keep that in mind. And as you can see, what I do like it shows is that further north is where your higher ceiling is with this system, just because it's more time for the system to go. But it doesn't mean we can't be talking about other areas down south. I can't believe there's not a single member on this showing any snow further south, though. I don't agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that. But that's really not. I'm not going to talk about all the specific ensemble members this far out. Let's take a look at the Euro ensemble here. Yep. That's what you want. It's what you want to see. Again, it's not perfect what you have now, but you don't always necessarily want perfect. That's what you want right there. You don't want to overdo this, though, remember. You don't want to overdo this. I'm going to put that out there. Do not want to overdo it. And this is not out yet. Why aren't you out? Show yourself. All right. Whoa. I see some fun. Not all the models, but you can get a sense. I'm sure that looks different compared to last time. And then you have a Canadian ensemble as well. Just give it a peek. Yeah. Same idea. Probably not perfect. Just offshore as well. But it shows that overrunning as well. Shows that initial. So you see that? It kind of picks up on the initial. So at a minimum, you at least get a chance for some accumulating snow, really Seems like regardless of the outcomes, or at least get a chance of that. Seems like there's at least a floor with this system, no matter what, for some of the upper mid Atlantic into Northeast. So that's at least the good news, is that you could at least, in a worst case scenario, you could walk away with maybe at least a little bit of something. But very solid stuff to see here on the zero Z guidance. Helps, at least not make me feel like, what the heck am I forecasting here? Makes me feel like I'm not a complete doofus forecasting. So um, I know some of you be like, you're really good. Stop saying that. But I'm very hard on myself to be accurate. I appreciate a lot of the kind messages a lot of you guys send, but I'm very hard on myself. I try to do better and not being so hard, but um, I also have I don't. It's worth sharing personal stuff about in terms of my how my brain works, and conditions I have. But I do have mental stuff as well. If that wasn't already obvious, we there's some stuff off in my brain. But so I try to do my best. All I'll say is I see patterns very well, figuratively and semi literally, I guess, too. So we're not limited, though. This isn't the end of it right here. There's going to be more opportunities. Could get a chance for some snow right after as well. Excuse me. Could get a chance. So keep an eye on that after as well. Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm not sure what that will look like with some changes after, but anytime you get that amount of upper level energy swinging in, you get a chance. I guess maybe even right after that as well. Again, just trying to do a clipper, but I wouldn't look too much in so far out. But one thing I do know is MGO becoming more favorable, and the subtropical jet is going to continue to be active, guys. And anytime we do that, in this positive TNH pattern we have here, meaning it just basically in semi-summary, cold air continues to be on tap favorably, and it tends to favor eastern U.S. troughing. That seems to be the theme here going into the end of January and even into February potentially as well. This is why I said this, I think, will end up being all said and done when we look back here in February, the end of winter, that this period here could end up being the best period in years. But that's not saying a lot, because reality is it could really just be more of a hype term than anything else, a little bit. But I guess it grabs the viewer's attention a little bit. But my point is, it hasn't been that crazy. So in past winters, we've had stuff, but nothing major recently, right? We even had some major East Coast snowstorm. Hasn't happened, so there's not a lot to look back on, and or even if we didn't have a major, we haven't had a pattern where we had like 3 snowstorms in like a few weeks. We even had that. So I think things will transition. There's still missed connection, poor energy shearing stuff, crappy, sloppy, whatever that's been happening, but you can only control it so much, and not everything, or it's out of our control, and there's not much we can kind of do about that. We can just try to forecast what may happen, and just gotta know it doesn't always stay like crappy either. So, and also, a lot of people sometimes think when I'm so excited for snow that they think like I'm forecasting like the pattern of the century, or my sometimes when I get passionate, even though um, I I think that um, it gets misunderstood. I think some people read some of my stuff and be like, stop wish casting or stop thinking it's going to be everything. It's just like, I don't really do that. I really don't get much wish casting comments after NFL fan. How we doing? I really don't get many of that, to be honest. I actually had one person do that recently, literally earlier today, I think. And I had to block him. I was just like, nah, I'm not doing that. No, you come in, you troll a bunch of other people. Here's what I do. If anybody decides to do a comment where I'm like, buddy, come on, what are we doing? I'm just gonna go click on their profile, scroll once, see it, and you can tell right away if they're just being a doofus to everybody. And if they do that, boom, mute, block. We're done. Just not necessary. Just not necessary. And it's also why I don't read my replies as much anymore. I check them. I check them throughout the day a little bit, but haven't been checking them as much for the reason. I would love to not check them at all, but there's too many good people of you out there. Too many of y'all that are too good, and I feel a little bit obligated. Excited that we're getting some snow, and the Broncos are playing this weekend. Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't really care if the Patriots win who they play, to be honest. I would just be happy that they're there, and I think they could beat either team. And whoever comes out of there could beat the Patriots as well. So we'll take that offensively, hopefully. But good luck for you as a fan. Sure, that's exciting. Actually, I kind of want the Bills just because I would love to see an AFC Championship game at Foxborough, but I wouldn't mind seeing the Pats go off to Denver as well. But remember here, the sentiment is that cold air is going to continue to be on tap, and we're going to have chances. And we can see that in the long ranges, and you can kind of see that in the preset field, is that when you have this active subtropical energy here, this active moisture on tap across the subtropic regions here in the East Pacific and the Gulf, when you have that on tap, all you got to do is pull in that northern energy to just enough to tap into it. And then you get stuff, and then you either slides off or maybe rides up the coast if we have our Atlantic ridging in place enough. Or the leeway to Atlantic ridging, guys, as we know, is or to at least North Atlantic ridging is a southeast ridge, even if it's not minor. So we might flex the southeast ridge a little bit, and that wouldn't be a bad thing if you were able to do that, because that forces the moisture that gets pulled into the flow. It forces it to go up more and not just out. So this is the chance here. You can see it. North Stream, South Stream, even in just a dumb operational run, 7 to 10 days out, you can kind of get the gist. More northern cold air dumping in over the ridge, wherever it is. If it's further west, that's fine. You can still work with that depending on the setup. Further east, that's fine as well. You're just going to need some Atlantic ridging. So this is what's on store here. Keep an eye on this. There's something. I'm sure. Did we get any fun 0Z runs? Oh, where'd the big snowstorm go? All gone. All gone. Hey, but you do get a fun one at the end, it looks like. Yeah. A little southern fun. And look at that. You get almost a redeveloping clipper. Now that would be awesome. Are you kidding me? How many times you see the clipper redevelop like that just offshore? What? You get a 500. What's the height look like there? We haven't been able to do that often. Yeah, but that's still. You would have to do more than that. I'm just talking about a long range GFS run that does not matter. So, because if our takeaway too is, especially think about the long range, if our takeaway is models stink at 5 days, why are we caring so much about what they're going to do beyond as well? So keep that in mind. If they can't get 5 days right, it's a domino effect. it just keeps going, and then everything gets worse and worse after. If 5 days is wrong, imagine how wrong 7 to 10 days is going to be, or 10 to 20 days. But think about that. So just remember that too. Here comes the guidance. So if guidance was so wrong with this here too, keep an eye on it, right? Guidance was off. Take a look at the changes here, just in the short term with this system here this week. Guidance was just off with that. Think about what happens behind. You see that? That has effects from the start of the run to the end of the run. Thanks. Hopefully your team that you like makes it too. I like the Patriots, so I got born into it. I didn't have a choice, and I'm kind of glad I got to watch. I got to watch a lot of Super Bowls. I got to be alive for a lot of Super Bowls. Almost all of them. Yeah. Hopefully the team that you like makes be ready. Okay, you don't gotta tell me. You can just come right back. Up to you. So that's where the thought resides too. Is we'll go to ensemble. Seems like a better idea. Maybe a bit of a polar vortex stretching event. Seems possible. Could get that on the backside, then you would really, if this were the case, man, you get some really deep cold air in place out ahead of systems too, right? We don't have to worry about anything coming in from behind. That's what I like too. We have a chance. Let's look at our 850s. Oh, oh baby. Look at the cold reservoir we have here. Damn. Damn, right? Dang. I mean, we have cold air. Cold air in place. That's what you like to see. Deep cold air out ahead. And then now you're tilting something, right? So it's picking up on something. Is it picking up on our? We have this teleconnection here around this time frame. I would have to go back, but I think it was around the 21st to the 27th is when we pointed, somewhere within that time range. And this was like over a week ago, and this would still be at least like 8 to 10 days from now. Bering Strait should suggest that we'll get an East Coast low somewhere along the East Coast, likely about 15 to 21 days ish from then. At that point, that's kind of the teleconnection there. That the low that gets caught up way up here at that time tends to result in amplification and a low pressure in the eastern U.S. later that time, and that's kind of those long range model runs you've been seeing. That's probably that connection right there, baby, ladies and gentlemen. That's the connection. So keep that in mind. That some point here in this time frame it really pulls in the cold air, but I'm not sure if that's just the ensemble mean stretching it out. But the cold reservoir, take a look at where it is. Central and eastern Canada, central and eastern United States. That's the idea. Eastern half of the United States here is best in line for this pattern upcoming, almost present. It's present now. It's present. So that's probably will be the next legitimate snowstorm potential will probably be in this time frame. But there could be something sooner. Late fast flow, you always get a chance for something sooner. Always get a chance, but it looks pretty sheared at that point. So maybe you could do something there. Mid next week, maybe. But that could just be like a clipper as well. So it may not be anything major, but you got to stack clippers too. You guys know you got to stack them. Have to. And usually, guys, in our best patterns as well, you're usually doing a clipper in between a snowstorm. It's very rare that you just go snowstorm, snowstorm, snowstorm with nothing in between, unless it's pretty spread out. Usually, in your best patterns, you got a clipper. February February 5th, 2013, guys. We had a clipper right before the one people call Nemo, I think, right? Yeah, it's Nemo. The is what the Weather Channel named it. The February 9th, 2013. I don't care. People get so mad about the names of winter storms. Why do you care? It really does not affect you, in my opinion, that much. The kids love it. It doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter. That's my just opinion. If you care so much, I don't care about that either necessarily all that much. I only care if you just project that onto other people because it's not necessary in my opinion. But even then, it's limited. Limited care. But usually the best pattern we have Clipper, and then we had Big Blizzard. And in theory, I'm going to hold on to this still. In theory, this winter, based on what we've had, there will be one major mid-Atlantic or northeast snowstorm or both. In theory. In theory. And we're going to hold on to that until the end of the winter. And hopefully we at least get something close to that for my thought. And it's not a wish cast. It's not a wish cast. I know some are thinking you're just hoping for that. Of course I'm hoping for it. But we've had so many, and the reason for it is when you get such a repetition of the North Stream, and you get so many opportunities to line up with an active Southern Stream, that gives yourself opportunities. Combine that with how many bomb cyclones. Think about how many blizzards we've had out here in this part of the country, in this part of the world. Think about that. So many that in that part of North America this winter and in the fall. And usually what that means is you have a lot of storms that have been coming together, and just late though. And so when you get that to happen, usually at some point you can get one of those, right? Broken clock is right twice a day. And now we just need it to be right once. So at some point in theory, that could happen. But nothing in the near term. Actually, well, I'm not ready to go there for anything yet. It depends on what I'm talking, like the major ones. Nah, we'll just leave it at major. I'm just digging myself into a hole here. I don't need to dig. Unlike the trough. But you can kind of see the signal here. You see that? All that precip, I mean, that's strong. Anytime you see green that far out, it's a pretty strong signal. You can kind of pinpoint that there. It's a pretty strong signal. Doesn't always mean accurate, but look at that. See that? All those big snowstorms are showing there. Means there is some merit to a signal. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. That doesn't always mean anything though. So keep that in mind. But that's that time frame. I keep an eye on that, guys. We've mentioned that for like almost a week now, I think. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see if we can connect on that. We've been calling it like 3 storm threats because I do think, in theory, it should be a storm threat in that time with the kind of pattern we're in. Yeah, you get more here too. Look at that. Look at all those. Bunch of them. Bunch of dream scenarios for so many people right there. That just cannot happen. At least not yet. It's unfortunate. Let's see what it was doing for our system here. Yeah, there we go. You can see. Showing them. I love the noise it made there. That's fine. And then you can see there's some that show some pretty significant ones. So it's kind of showing a little bit of the ceiling that potential for for a more significant event is there. And then others, are just showing more of a snow event to minor snowstorm. or that's even the front. That's the front part. Sorry, on this one, you see that a lot of models showing that front part at least, and so that means regardless, there's a good chance for accumulating snow, even if it's not major. And then there's the second part of the system, 1A, 1B. But I think this would, if you see guidance continue to do what it does, it'll probably look more like one system together. And then there's all your fun stuff. And so that's what creates the mean, right? All these individual members then create the freaking mean. That's right. And there you go. And that's how you get a pretty fun ensemble mean there, right? So yeah, I just due to the comments I would get last winter, I don't think I'll be posting too many of these unless there's something like really kind of fun and crazy. And I would preface it obviously. Also, hit the like if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. You can click the S in the bottom right corner to show super chat support, but please don't feel obligated at all to do so whatsoever. I only mention it is because it helps me tremendously, but it's not required at all. And I even feel a little bit of guilty mentioning it, just because I really just like forecasting the stuff, to be honest. But I don't want to make anybody feel obligated to ever do that. But and channel memberships are available too. There's cheap to expensive, whatever you decide. If you do, it's not necessary though. Whatever. You can also gift people memberships as well if you want. We've had a couple of people do that, and that is why we have so many members as we do now. People are members as a result of that. So, but these ensemble maps, just some nasty comments I would get last winter when I would post these and preface them, and I would put every possible way to phrase it as what you see here is not, it's not how much snow you're going to get. And we ended up that February, that was our strongest period of the winter, and it's where we got the most snow. And so, but we didn't get as much exactly as what they were showing. You know, and you have to keep that in mind. And I said that, but people still get annoyed with them, no matter how much you can preface it. So I probably won't be posting these as much, if at all. Maybe in a Discord. Maybe in the Discord we can post some of these, and the Discord, yeah, post some of it, but maybe YouTube as well, but definitely not X. Euro ensemble, hey, I think that's pretty solid too for the Euro. We can look at those panels. There it is. I mean, it's a fair amount. It's so far out, showing central to eastern U.S. storm there. See that? That's pretty far out. So, but it could be a bunch of model noise as well. But I think there is something there in actuality. There is some merit to some of the long range guidance here, some of the crapshoot stuff you're seeing right now. Zoom in here. Panels north, way too far out. But it's skipping my time frame that I want by 100 hours, and that's not helpful. That's not helpful. Another thing that I think works in favor for this weekend, in theory, we talked about how this may, for this system, it does not every system play a factor, but for this system, Zoom in. There we go. Here's our sea surface temperature analysis here as of 0Z OZ last night. You can see there's your Gulf Stream thermal gradient. This is kind of fading a little bit, to be honest. Fading just a little bit. It's not quite. I could be wrong on that. Let me get the ensemble mean. Not the ensemble mean. The here. A little bit colder. Well, just a little bit colder water spilling, yeah, right along some of that Gulf Stream area. So I was right, a little bit. But what I love to see is most of the Atlantic here warmer. Means we at least the potential for that Atlantic ridging has been there to fill back in more farther west. See, I don't care about as much of this being colder. Here, though, we continue to see this fill a little bit warmer. Wouldn't mind that. Wouldn't mind that at all over the course of this pattern here. And then you look at the Gulf. Lots. The jet fuel relative to average to tap into there. And along the Gulf Stream, you still have this, all this warmer above average. Even this here, still all this warmer to tap into. For moisture to get pulled up. And in the East Pacific, you can see, into Mexico, Mexico, I should say, actually, you can pull into that as well. And then if we do have a warm air advection event, we have colder than average events, and that will work in our favor. Now, if we have cold air in place and we're not worrying about that, then, you know, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have this above average. But people along the coast, I don't think mind that, having that. And so what I'm going to say here, though, is, don't delete all of it, it's fine. Whatever. See this gradient right here? That's a path for storms to follow, potentially. You see that? Right by the benchmark. That's a path for a storm to follow right there. They'll follow that gradient. Especially with this being a little less notable here. This is it. Storms love to follow the gradient. They love the follow. It's just easier. There's a little bit more gravity to it for the baroclinic zone. And the ocean plays a part in that. So we mention it. We continue to mention it, and I continue to follow where the gradient is. Because it plays a little bit of a part. It's a pretty solid gradient to have right there. Just south of Nantucket. And well south of Long Island. So, wouldn't shock me if this weekend we get a low track to be right there. Or at least near there. In theory, this would favor a low track here. In theory, for this weekend, would help favor it, support it a little bit more. Here's some of our Euro members. Give me an order of 16, would not mind that. A lot of spread. A lot of spread, which tells me uncertainty. That's what that tells me in the guidance when you get that kind of spread. So there's the cold air on Thursday. And there's the mean after that. Next week. This weekend into next week is gonna get so cold. Basically from Thursday, I think on. Right? Yeah, Thursday's the day we go cold. Want to do the anomalies? Purple on the map means you got Arctic cold. So some northwest, again, along the front here. They'll probably get some good snowfall along the Appalachians. That's what tends to happen on a lot of these events. A little bit of lake enhancement too. Probably get some lake effect streamers from the north. Kind of like that. Across the lakes. So looking at it, Marquette is currently up here, I believe up there. And is it Michigan or Minnesota? I should really know that. I'm kind of embarrassed. But they're like 40 inches above it. They got 130, 140 inches of snow up there already. Can you imagine? A lot more people would be happier, I think. At least that comment on my account. Oh, man, yeah, that cold. Stays cold. Oof. Next week, big Arctic blast is going to be coming. Big Arctic blast. That seems like a polar vortex stretch that we were talking about earlier. It has to be. You don't usually get that cold without pretty good access to the polar vortex. Yeah, I mean, cold. Cold. All the guidance, all of the ensemble means showing it. Frickin', we go cold. Chat, cold. Look at that. We go cold. And then right there, the anomaly map shows it so perfectly, guys. That's your storm there. That's exactly what you want to see. Warm air getting pulled up to meet cold air. In theory, again, it's so far out, but there's been some merit. The ensembles have been sniffing it out. The ensemble sniffed it out in the long range very well this time. Just the general idea. We got to give credit where credit's due to the models. As much as we crap on them, got to give credit to some of the ensembles, especially the AIFS and the Euro ensemble. But in theory, let's play hooky a little bit with what's shown. In theory, along that gradient there, that'd be your snowstorm potential. But there's no need to speculate on a 270-hour ensemble map for reasons we discussed. And then you see, boom, in comes the cold again, which has really no merit. And because we're kind of expecting that already, and B, we don't care about the specifics of an anomaly map that far out. Just doesn't matter that much for specifics. You guys want to check out some cool stuff with sea surface temperature anomalies? We can do that again. Last time we checked 2014, 2018, and 2011 for the closest anomalies I could kind of find. Actually, let's look at season to date snowfall. Reminder, this is snowfall in the last 2 weeks. Not as much down here, but reminder, there's still been some snowfall. So even in that warmer, slightly above average, that warmer stretch we had last week, or early this week, last week. And there's season to date snowfall. So we really cannot be complaining all that much quite yet. It seems like people are holding on to the fact we haven't had a lot of major snowstorms in past winters. We got to focus on this winter. This winter has been a solid start. Let's not evaluate the entire winter before it's done. And the kind of snowy hole you see is maybe here and here in Eastern Mass, but specifically just in general, though, is here, obviously. And even then, they're not really they're not so below average crazy. They're definitely a little bit below average now. They're not so below average crazy, though, because they had a decent start to start off in December, the beginning of December. And then these places here are just they already hit their average probably early in December. They got way above average, some of those places. And they're probably sitting either average to above average right now. And then these places here, like November snowfall, these places cut. Remember that back in November? Accumulating snowfall. And the lakes have freaking done well. Obviously, look at the max, 198 inches on the lakes there. 200 inches of snowfall across the lakes, it looks like. Just an estimated. And this isn't perfect. And obviously, ski country had a great start and is continuing to do well kind of again here. Will do fantastic. So if you got ski plans this weekend, set them up. Or if you were planning on skiing, maybe set them up. If you were thinking about it, set up them ski plans. Maybe they're gonna, set up those ski plans, baby. They're gonna come for this. You're gonna get good snow from this late week system here. So if you were planning on doing that, go do it. Should be a good weekend for that. But then you see Cape Cod, South Shore, off to a decent start here. Just literally northwest of 95 and down to the coast. Long Island, good. New York City, good. Central Jersey, good. Even to South Jersey, some of these places. I'm not sure if this is perfectly right because I think you may have had some decent snowfall that first one. Philly, good start because of that northeast. Central PA, some of these places, you can go back to that November snowfall that started off well from them. They had some good. December 2nd worked out well for them as well, I believe. Hudson Valley off to a good start. Not amazing, right? None of these places are really off to an unbelievable. Besides the lakes here, are off to an amazing start. Like incredible, but just kind of floating around, right? You're floating. You're above water. You're not drowning. We're not drowning to start the winter. We don't need to do something crazy to make up for a bad start. We didn't do that, which is good. Now, maybe your backyard wasn't so great, and that's possible. There's some spots here that haven't had an unbelievable start. And again, these places here, just in general, don't do well, though, so that's not surprising. You'd be surprised. Go look at their snowfall total. It's very low in these places. Like, they don't average more than, 6 to 12 inches a winter, if that. And then here, that's a little below average for some of these places. But all right, let's do our sea surface temperature thing. And I gotta call it probably after that. But you can't really see that. I'm not sure why it's doing this. All right, we're gonna, whoa. Okay. So you'll have to zoom in a little bit because it's not letting me zoom in any more than this for the dual picture. So I apologize on that. Just zoom in on the YouTube there on the screen. Now let's go find a little bit there. I did find 2001 as a similarity a little bit too, and you can kind of see there's a little bit in the you see the double warm blob with cool blob in between, what we'll call it, with the warm blob here as well, and the cool blob here in South America in the southern hemisphere, and you have a similar La Nina signature as well in terms of some of the warmer in some of those index regions there in ENSO. But obviously you can see you have some Atlantic warm, but it's not quite the same though much where else. So there's a little bit of similarities there. 2001, we mentioned that before the season, that there were some similarities there in terms of Eurasian snowfall, and that lines up there too as well. Car. A little bit, but not really. Not quite. Not really. But a little bit. Nope. 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 Now, here's one thing I noticed. Difference in 2011 now is the La Nina is much stronger than it was 10 days prior. So 2011 does not look like as good of an analog at this point, especially with how much cooler Alaska got. Now, maybe 10 days ago, sure. And this is January 11th, so it's still a few days behind. But this here, too, not quite the same. It's really back into here. That's where it's still similar. So the 2011 analog, we can kind of revoke that a little bit. Doesn't look as pretty. 2011 was a great winter, so that's kind of a shame. But can't force something that isn't there. 2012 is just an interesting anomaly year right there. Just almost nothing. It's just average all around. There's nothing going on. 2013, quite. And 2014 just remains, guys. I mean, it has to be right there, right? Look at that. It's just 2015. No. Weak El Nino out there. Wouldn't that be nice? That was the progression, though. If we go 2014, we go 2015 right after. I would take it. Our 2015 progression ended up working out pretty well in terms of the upper level energy pattern. It's pretty cool that we were able to piece that together. I thought that was really cool. Really cool. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to get the same snowstorm and then big snowstorm, massive blizzard, it seems like, right after. But, it was pretty cool to piece together in terms of, back-to-back storm threats right there. Same timing, literally to a T. So we can kind of lock that in going forward, that if we do ever get that. But some of the similarities were jarring. It was very impressive. For a second, had me going, what, could we? And I was like, oh, I don't think we'll ever do that again, but it's pretty cool. At least we'll probably do something like that again, just not maybe in our lifetime or in this decade. But this to me here, 2014, because again, it's not perfect, but in terms of La Nina specifics, you can see it kind of getting faded out, and we're going to continue to see that. These warm zones will probably get entrenched in it. Warm westerly bursts will kind of move over the area. It seems like can kind of entrench and it put La Nina to an end. It's still kind of holding on, but not for long. And when you see these regions warmer too, that's oftentimes a good sign. These Nino regions here against it, it's a good sign a lot of times for winter for us. Not always, but can be. I don't know them. I'll have to study the Nino index regions more off the top of my head. Just because I'm not an ENSO forecaster. There's people that specifically are constantly watching ENSO a lot, and I'm just not one of those because we're tracking the storm itself a lot of times. So I really oftentimes don't have time at all to do that. I would love to delve into that more. We'll gain that knowledge more eventually, but for the moment, not quite. And then you have warm blob here with this warm blob here, just like you do here. A little bit different, obviously. And then you have the warm stretch here to South America again. Not quite the same, but a little bit. You have this neat little warm and cooler stretch here, just off Africa as well. And then you have that warmer, the Atlantic is what really stands out into the Gulf. You see that? A little bit cooler in the Gulf, which could work in our favor because we're warmer in the Gulf this time. But that stands out as well. Greenland, though, now a little bit different. Greenland continues to skyrocket here, these anomalies. So I would love to find a year that has closer Greenland. And then Alaska, just south, a little bit different just south. I'm sure we'll see these continue to rise here. I think we have, honestly. That probably will keep rising. And then here. And even that little cooler patch within here to here, you see that? It's not as big as it was in 2014, but you can kind of connect that. So the 2014 analog seems to really stand out right now. There's 2015, no, 2016, obviously not, right? Look at that raging El Nino that year. So ENSO, obviously, as we know, is connected. So it's pretty amazing that we were able to get lucky in 2016. I didn't get lucky, but many of you got lucky and got the blizzard of a lifetime in 2016. The problem is many of you are still holding on to that as if you think you're going to do that again so easily. I haven't had a 2-foot snowstorm since 2015. I live in I live in a great spot to do that. I've literally had surrounding towns around me get 2 feet, and I didn't since then. I haven't had a 2-foot snowstorm in my backyard since 2015. Before that, 2013. It's hard to do it, guys. Hard to do it. Remember that. 2017. No. Not a little bit. Some similarities, but not really. Not enough. 2018 now. This is what we're talking about here. You see the similarities here with 2018? I think this is another. The 2018 one has suddenly kind of come together a bit more. Seems like a good same kind of a little triple effect, maybe. Keep mentioning it as a maybe. Should study that more. And you can see the Atlantic ridging with a slight cool patch just there too. You can kind of see that. A little bit different there in the Azores. I shouldn't. I think it's Azores. High pressure there. You could probably warmer above average temps there versus here. Not quite the same, and that probably plays a part in why we haven't amazing quite yet. So if we do fill in more here, probably allows us maybe to get some bigger snowstorm potential as we move later into January, or as we move into February and March. And usually a lot of times in these kind of patterns, they support late winter, guys. They support late winter to do it, and we're kind of doing just fine so far too. We're not even there yet. So that's what makes me think that I think a lot of people in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic and even just a lot of the Eastern U.S. can, along the East Coast, can get, at least a near average to slightly above average winter. And maybe some places could do really well. It's possible. It could go even higher, but there's no reason to just explicitly forecast that at the moment. I mean, I guess you could if you. There's enough in theory you could go off on. Just explicitly forecasting conversion, though, it's a little bit tricky. Yep, before you go to bed, I'm going to bed soon too as well. But you can kind of see the La Nina similarities here a little bit. Still a little bit stronger at this point in 2018 at that point, but warm blob off the western U.S. coast, and then you can see it fades a little bit. Not quite the same. Little bit of similar here too in terms of there's a similar progression. See warm, cold, warm, but cold patches in between. And then you have the warm blob here, and then you have the warm blob here, just not quite to the same extent and to anomalies. And then you have the cold in between. You have that little warm patch here, and you have that little warm patch here. Now, not perfect to a T, but similar. And you have a little bit of colder here, but maybe not quite the same. But you do have that warm stretch here, but through here a little bit colder off of Africa. Where here, 2026, much warmer throughout all this area. And it seems like we're having trouble with the pen now. I'll move it a little bit. We're getting a lag time here that I don't love. And then this is probably the biggest difference here, South America. So again, it's not perfect, but there's some similarities. So currently, 2014 and 2018 will remain firm, and the 2011 was in third place, and that kind of remains the same. 2019, no, 2020, and 2024, 2025, you can obviously see it's not quite the same. 2025, people are worried about last winter. Look at that difference in the Atlantic. It's not quite the same. Here, not the same. La Nina, a little bit similar, a little bit, but not quite. The warm patches you still have, and that's probably an extension from just last year as well. So obviously there's going to be some similarities a year apart, but not quite the same out here. And also through here as well. The warm blob much more expansive here. Cold blob in between, not quite as cold. And off of South America coast, you're much warmer as well. Here in 2025 versus 2026. And then Greenland, see the difference here? Much warmer 2026. And obviously through here, there's a big change between there and the is it Indian Ocean into the Pacific. I mean, I gotta really study my geography a little bit more around the world. Concern. It's late. That's why it's just late. I'm gonna brain is spiraling a little bit. We try to find one with Greenland blocking though a little bit more. You sickos that are staying up right now, I'm not happy with. You should have more than your life to watch me right now. But I shouldn't say that. I'm glad you're up with me though at the moment. But you are a sicko, just like me, so I appreciate it. There you go, 2015. Even then, though, not quite the same. And what I would do to get a 2015 winner again. Just move all those. Even then, I didn't even jackpot on much of February. Yeah, hit him. I go. You're a sicko, but I appreciate it. 2014, the Greenlands, 2013, kind of, a little bit. 2011, that might be closer. That might be closer. 20. See, that was the 2011. So okay, so we still have some there. You see why I mentioned 2011 was the War and Blood by Greenland blocking. So there was something there. Okay, we didn't just drastically change so much, but you can see there's a not the perfect stretch here, but in terms of Greenland blocking, you can kind of connect that. So there was a reason we mentioned 2011 last time. And then 2010, that looks pretty similar too. So we could put 2010 in there as well. For just Greenland blocking. Obviously, El Nino versus La Nina, big difference. La Nina, By the way, how you know? Cold through the Pacific here, along along the equator. See that? You see that close to the equator there? That's how you know you're in La Nina. If you're warmer, like you are there, if you're warmer like you are there, that's El Nino. That's it. And the stronger the anomalies you see, the stronger the El Nino throughout. It's not just one spot; it has to be throughout. For it to be stronger now. Right? 2003 a little bit just for the Greenland blocking, but that's about it. 2004 slightly. Yeah, that's about it. So, in recap, let's bring it back to the weekend storm. Okay. So I'm gonna stick with this idea here, guys. I'm gonna stick with it for the weekend storm as we delved into the pattern that I think we get a snow event to snowstorm. I really think we do. Um, I think we have a solid accumulating snow event to snowstorm that's going to happen this weekend, and it could be more than just a minor snowstorm too. When I say that, an accumulating snow event to moderate snowstorm certainly at play here this weekend. Um, we'll see the specifics between that, but you know, we'll we can kind of pinpoint as we get closer. We're still about 4 or 5 days out at least. So that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to pinpoint stuff. A lot. So let's just keep that in perspective here. There's gonna be a lot of change on guidance. I'm sure it wouldn't shock me if like guidance all of a sudden tomorrow shows snowstorm, fades it for the next day, and then brings it back the next day. That wouldn't shock me. Okay, that's literally how we have to talk about guidance, just for mischief purposes, or maybe it locks in and then we don't, and when we keep it. But we're in a very good spot to convert for speak. Regardless of, I know you don't want to hear that. Regardless of outcome, this is a very good spot to be in this range to be able to get snowstorm. Pretty decent spot. And again, the further northeast you go, the more sealing potential you have with the system. So also wouldn't shock me if this ends up being an event where it's just accumulating snowfall, maybe even as far down well south into the mid-Atlantic, and then as you get more into the northeast, a little bit more, and then as you get more into New England, a little bit more. And in theory, it's an event that should have a precip shield that could extend if we are assuming we convert, even if it's not major, assuming we convert, or even moderate for that major, for that factor, for that instance. Jesus, that's how you know it's late. Is a probably extend back. Oh, that's kind of thought process here. This could be an East Coast storm here, guys, and not necessarily because of how significant the totals are, just because of how far down the snow could go. East Coast snowstorm means the East Coast sees snow, and that produces a snowstorm. Now, widespread, necessarily getting a full out snowstorm down here. I don't know if we can say that. Accumulating snow, Certainly possible, though, to some of those southeast places and to the south. Would not surprise me. You can kind of see when you see the mean do that, like push back, it means you have a spread. It means you have a spread. You have some ensemble members showing the hit here, and you have a lot showing here as well, and it's offshore. So that's just spread that you have on guidance. All right, that's all I got for now. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure to hit the like if you haven't already. It goes a long way. We might be streaming a lot going forward here, unless I'm too sick to do it. I'm pretty sure I'm about to get sick here. So wish me good health. Wish me to not get so badly sick. Send me your good energy, and hopefully that can that can help me. We need to be strong here for forecasting. So without further ado, appreciate it, everybody.